Hey, this is Russell Christian. You're watching the Break It Down show.
This is Brian Wetzel.
Hey, you're watching the Break It Down show.
Love it. All right, you guys did a great job. What we're doing is doing a series of shows since we all like baseball over here, and we're going to start talking about the greatest first baseman today as we cruise our way through all of the different things that we can decide the greatest of. These are fun conversations. It's meant to be fun. If you got a favorite that we don't list, hey, great. Mention it in the chats or yell at us on X. We're all glad to hear about that stuff. So, fellas, I guess I'm going to ask you really briefly, how do each of you sort of work your greatest ladder? Like how does someone graduate or get pushed down? How do you deal with Negro leagues? How do you deal with Japanese leagues? How do you deal with war? All those things that happen to deal with these things. So I guess, Brian, talk about your measure for greatness. And how do you look at it?
Well, I don't keep I don't like to keep myself, have certain parameters that I have to meet and everything, but I pretty much take into account everything. I take into account, like I said before, the bat supersedes all, and maybe we'll talk about that a little later. But look at stuff like their accomplishments, like historic seasons, career milestones, single season milestones, peak, prime, and we talked about before when you're talking about Albert Pujols, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, you're splitting hairs. You're looking at stuff that he's like. You don't want to use rings as like a barometer, but when you're splitting hairs at some point, yeah, I'm looking at how a guy is in the clubhouse, how much he contributes to winning, et cetera, et cetera. Like you get really down into some serious minutia, and it can seem like like it really shouldn't matter. But when you're talking about the greats of the greats, it does matter, I think.
I was talking with Rob Meyer on the show one time, and he said when he and Bill James were talking, it's like everything is measurable, everything matters, everything. Like at some point, right? And so, yeah, you're trying to take this minutia into account, but at some point, you're so far into the grit and the nits that you have to be like, this isn't a difference that matters at all. You know, it's like red car, blue car. Who cares?
Contemporary opinion matters to me too. Like I take that into account. Like no one ever thought Hank Aaron in their time was as good as Willie Mays. No one thought Tris Speaker was as good as Ty Cobb, stuff like that. Like I take that into account. Nothing super. You know what I mean? I like I said, I don't like to hold myself to rigid parameters because every career is so unique. Every guy is so unique. So, yeah.
Russell?
You, Russ, yeah.
Yeah, so I know you like games played, Pete. So I tried to look at defense and offense. And the thing is, too, when I try to look at the call of the question, greatest first baseman ever. So I would look at games played first, and I wanted to sort of be able to easily dismiss players that didn't play a lot of their career at first base. Like we talked about Miguel Cabrera, 2 of his MVP seasons, he was playing third base. So it's easy to just look at somebody's career stats and say, oh, he played first base, he's in the conversation. It's like, well, the call of the question is greatest first baseman. Let's look at time on the bag defensively and what they did offensively while they played the position. And it's kind of the same argument that we had. I did an episode on Joe Mauer a few years ago, and I'm like, I know he's going to get in the Hall of Fame, but it was kind of annoying. And I felt a lot of us were annoyed because everyone keeps saying, blah, 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 as a catcher. It's like, dude, he played half his career first base or DH. So it's like, stop saying he has all this for a catcher. Like, he only played catcher for a season. So looking at the call of the question, I was looking at both sides of the bag, so to speak. And for that reason, Cabrera was off my list. And I wanted to take into account some of the players that had a long career on the bag. And again, it's easy to just look at their gaudy offensive stats, but especially guys, even Pujols, like he played a DH a little bit. He had a long career at first base. So that's where I came into this. And I wanted, to look at both sides of the coin, defense and offense. So
the defense side matters too, right? Especially like someone like Keith Hernandez, and does his, first base is limited. Like let's just be honest about first base here for a sec.
Sure.
Basically, every play that a first baseman makes is nothing to a shortstop. Like, oh, he had to catch the ball while standing on the bag. I had to do a pivot, and so, and also get away from a freight train of a ball player coming in. Imagine trying to turn a pivot, and here comes Utley, Right. And so, and it's not that first basemen don't count, but when people are like, oh, well, they save air, it's like, yeah, that's required, like you're there to stand there. But these guys are also more immobile, I would say. I mean, however good and young Nick Kurtz is, he's 6'5". He's not going to get more nimble as he gets older, right? And so there'll be some cost to that defense. So, you got to be fair to these guys. And that's what makes Keith Hernandez so special in this case.
Yeah, it's funny. To just jump in, Pete. That was the whole joke about Moneyball. First base is easy. Tell him, Wash. It's incredibly hard. It's like, yeah, most of the time you're just standing on the bag catching, and that's why historically you kind of put your big guy there. Maybe it wasn't as fast, but every once in a while, like we talk about Nick Kurtz. I don't know if you saw this last night or it was 2 nights ago. He had that into the game catch. Yeah, and you're like, wow, that guy's super athletic. Matt Olson every once in a while makes a few plays. Freddie, you see the first baseman doing the splits or doing a big jump, and every once in a while, they remind everyone they're athletes and they got to make some plays. So
I
it's
feel like the
not
split's
all
kind of gone away, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You don't see that no more.
The splits happen sometimes.
Yeah. But that was like some style, some flair, like the Olay with the glove and everything.
Yeah.
I guess I'll do my greatness thing here too. So when I look at greatness, just no matter how I come at this, I always end up looking and going, man, Mickey Mantle just didn't play as many games as other people. And at the scale of greatness, this matters. So someone like Babe Ruth, who plays almost 3,000 games, or Pete Rose or Ty Cobb, they've just got a bigger pile of greatness. Yeah. Maybe you've got a very peaky mountain or a monolith. Like I think about Jimi Hendrix is for sure a great guitarist, one of the greatest ever, except for he didn't do anything when he was 28, 29, 30, 31. He never had to evolve, never had to become that bigger thing. He left all his money on the table. And so he didn't have a chance to do what a band like U2 would do when they would have to expand out, or someone like Simone Biles, who had to continue to go to the Olympics, continue to evolve. She just didn't run out of greatness. And a lot of these guys, Brooks Robinson got to play, but maybe Pete Rose played too long. But I love to take like the last 10 years of these long-term players and just say, here's how good they were. And I did this the other day with Derek Jeter. From his last 9 years in baseball, because then he got into his peak, and I didn't want to get his peak. He was the best shortstop in the AL, and it wasn't even close. Like no one else even could manage 9 years during that time that were good. And so that's what a big pile of greatness does. So it's like a mountain range versus a big mountain in my world, and that's why games played matters. No matter what you do, like if you've got me and Russ talk about doubles all the time. If you look at who's on the top of the list for doubles, it's all great players. Maybe they're not all Hall of Famers, but it's all great players. If you look at anybody who plays more than 2,000 games, it's all great players, even if they're not Hall of Famers. And so it is a good elemental metric. And like you talked about, Russ, I love to talk about attendance. Like, are you on the bag, right? Yeah. Are you playing? Because if you're playing left field, that's a different conversation. If we're talking third base, we're talking first base, we're talking shortstop. Who stood at sixth the longest? Okay, well, that counts. Derek Jeter played sixth more than anybody else. And there is greatness in that longevity. So that's how I see these things. But let's dig into your guys' rankings. I have Brian, I guess, start us off. Yeah.
No, I was going to say about what your thing about games played and everything, and you said about those 9 years with Jeter. Like, that's something that I would have never guessed. Like, that's something that your philosophy reveals, stuff like that. I would have never guessed Jeter was that far and away those last 9 years.
And it's all decline, all his entire decline,
right.
And he's still better than everybody. It doesn't mean he was the greatest at any one at bat or any one week or any one season, but no one put seasons together like he did. And if you were to say to a GM, hey, I got a guy for you for 9 years, he's going to give you 20 plus WAR, he's going to front the most famous franchise in the world, he's not going to get in trouble, he'll be your captain. By the way, he's got 4 rings already. Yeah. Okay, I'm not signing that guy, and no one's going to outperform him in these next 9 years. Yeah, sign, do it, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Russ, anything on that?
What's that?
Anything on that at all? Anything else on greatness, or should we dig into these?
No, I'd just say let's dig into it. I mean, I like what you're saying. The greatness, just time on the bag. It's just echo what I was saying earlier. It's easy to look at Miguel Cabrera's gaudy career stats and say, well, guys should be the greatest. And it's like, well, what did he do on the bag? That's what we're looking at.
I love it. All right, well, go kind of slow so we can talk about these guys a little bit, but give us each guy, I guess, start from 10 and go to 1. You
want me to go, or you want Brian to start?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
All right, I'll start in no particular. Well, we are.
It's been a long time on that order.
Yeah. I'll go 10 to 1. Just read them off. 10, I had Steve Garvey. 9, Jake Beckley. 8, Buck Leonard. 7, Eddie Murray. 6, Rod Carew. 5, Keith Hernandez. 4, Jimmy Fox. 3, Freddie Freeman. Who might be 2. We'll see when his career's over. Number 2 is Albert Pujols. And number 1, got to go with Lou Gehrig. Nope, I think you're muted, Pete.
Freddie Freeman's pretty bold from that list. What made you pick Fred?
So I love Freddie. It's not just because I'm a Braves fan. I was adorning in Braves gear, but let's jump into it. If he, assuming he stays healthy and finishes out his Dodgers contract, he is likely. He usually plays 162 games a year. So even when he's hurt, assuming he plays 150 games next season, plays most of this season, he'll finish as the career leader in games played at first base. Current record holder is Eddie Murray, who I got on the list. If you're looking just at games played, uh, you know, projected stats are a slippery slope, but assuming he stays healthy, assuming he plays, he'll probably get picked up as a free agent from someone else, Braves or whoever, when these next 2 years are done. But he'll probably retire all-time leader games played at first base. I got the Freddie doubles watch going. He will at least be over 600 doubles, which puts him in, rarefied air. He has a shot at the all-time career doubles numbers. So
right.
I think still, with 2 rings, the great World Series performance in 21 and last year, with what he has right now, just his body work right now, I think he's in the top 10. I have him 3, which might be a little high because his career's not over. But when all's said and done, you're looking at a guy that's probably going to have over 3,000 hits, possibly the career record at doubles, all-time games played at first base, 2 World Series rings, theatrics, Grand Slam. So how can you not have Freddie on the list?
Yeah. Brian, anything on Russell's list?
No, I was surprised Freeman was so high, and I kind of made a face when you said it wasn't because you were a Braves fan, just to kind of mess with you. But I have Freddie right outside the top 10. I'm just not ready to get him in there yet, but I'm sure he's gonna make it. The guy's unbelievable.
What about Beckley? You picked Beckley. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I kind of had him as a wild card. I thought that was a little disrespectful because he played 1888 to 1907. Obviously was not there to watch him. I don't know a lot about him. At the time of his retirement, he had the MLB record for chances, putouts, and games at first base. He's still to this day is the second all-time in games played at first base and the all-time leader in putouts at first base. So, it's got to count for something. He's got a 61.5 WAR, I think over 2,900 hits, great offense, good defense. So, had to throw a shout out to Beckley because I know when we were talking in our feed, I tried it's really hard to compare players to different eras. That's a whole separate conversation. So I was trying to have representation on my list from all the different eras. I wanted to have a Negro League player on there. So looking at that early era of baseball, I'm like, how can Jake Beckley's the obvious choice, whether or not he can compete in today's game and all that's a separate conversation. Kind of don't like having that conversation because nobody's a time traveler. They play when they play, and if they put up good numbers and if they're better than their peers, that counts for something. So you got to have Jake Beckley on there. Again, I just don't want to have 10 guys that all played the past 50 years. That's not fun.
I also wanted to bring this guy up here. You had Carew on there, right? In a bit of a non-traditional pick. Talk about your pick for Rod Carew.
So I love Rod Carew, and this gets to a conversation, I've been having on my Twitter sphere. I'm a big Tony Gwynn fan, big Rod Carew fan. I think that contact hitting and the art of not striking out is kind of, poo-pooed upon nowadays. And, everyone wants the 3 true outcomes, and you want the Adam Dunn and the Kyle Schwarbers that are either going to hit it, 500 feet or strike out. And, Kyle Schwarber's got over 100 strikeouts a year, batting like 205, and he's batting leadoff. I like Rod Carew. He's got, off the top of my head, Gwynn had 8 titles. I want to say Carew had 6 or 7. Here, I can tell you right now. Contact hitter. We usually think of first baseman as the big slugging guys. But Carew here, I'll tell you right now, 7 batting titles. Yeah. Let's look at this. Best contact hitters in the modern era. Gwynn and Carew and maybe Boggs. Career 328 hitter, over 3,000 hits. Shit, I don't want to curse. Batted 388, 1977. Come on, man. So he's not a power guy, and that's why I want to put him in there. Everyone thinks as first baseman is the big guy that stands there and catches with a beat hook and then gets up and hits home runs. Jimmy Fox kind of guys. Mark McGwire, okay, those guys are great. Rod Carew is a little different. He's a contact hitter. He's got speed. He gets on. He's almost like a Ricky guy on, the prototypical 70s, 80s leadoff guy that we've talked about. I love that era, the Vince Coleman, the Ricky Henderson, the Tim Raines kind of guy, the guy that can hit for average and steal bases and be a table setter. I love that he does that, and he's a first baseman because there was I'm trying to think what season it was. There was one season he won the batting title with like 0 home runs. I mean, it's like so crazy.
Yeah.
Today, I could see people like, even, well, the comparison now is Arias. People, kind of dog on Arias. I'm like, the dude is incredible. Like 3 batting titles. He doesn't strike out. I mean, anyway. So I have a soft spot for that type of baseball. And, I think Rod Carews' credentials are bona fide. If somebody wants to pick a fight with me, that Rod Carew shouldn't be on this list. And he's a pretty good player.
I wanted to put this up. I was looking through the newspapers and I found this great story. And there was a whole bunch of them about Rod Carew. And this is exactly what we're talking about. You guys don't have to read the story, but you see the headline, right? And he was having the same problem. And it's a problem you're talking about. That's why I love that you included him. But it's like, I won 5 batting titles, everybody. And I get it. In the modern way, we don't see as much value in putting the ball in play. But if you're extreme at that, and it's in the face of everything the game is designed to stop you from doing, there is value. And I don't know if this is true or not. It'll take time to see it. But I believe having a guy like Arias on your team or Horner on the Cubs, those guys create a passion and a capacity, possibly, to strike out less. May not work for every guy, but some of these guys are going to pick up what he's saying, because these guys coach each other too. It's a competition. So it's crazy. So I'm glad you mentioned him. Anything else from you, Brian, on Carew?
Yeah, I love Rod Carew too. Russell, to pile on what you said the best contact hitter of the modern era in the history of 150-year history of Major League Baseball. You said he has 7 batting titles. That's tied for 3rd all time with Musial and Hornsby, behind Wagner and Cobb. His 4 consecutive American League batting titles are second to only Cobb's 5. You said he's the only live ball batting champ without a homer. 14 consecutive 300 seasons, and he stole home 7 times in 1969. Only Cobb ever stole home more in one season. He stole home 8 times. So
I didn't know that. That's awesome. Makes me like him even more.
Pretty awesome. Had a rough childhood too. He overcame a lot.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Not really going to talk about here. It's kind of it's not good.
How many games did he play at first, Russ? How many were there, and how many were at second base and DH and all that? Because he doesn't show up much on the charts in terms of games played, which doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I got the list here. So he's 116th all time at games played at first base, 1,184. So if you want to be consistent, maybe we can ding him for that. Yeah, we played some other positions, but he was primarily a first baseman. I just wanted to put him on there because he's not your prototypical first baseman of big muscle guy that catches and hits home runs,
Yeah. And we got one more guy I want you to talk about. Here we go. Buck Leonard.
Buck Leonard. Yeah. So, I mentioned I got Lou Gehrig as my number 1. Buck Leonard was a teammate of Josh Gibson on the Homestead Grays, actually batted 4th, cleanup behind Josh Gibson 3. So, if I got to spell out the Ruth Gehrig analogies, I don't have to, because Leonard was actually referred to as the Black Lou Gehrig, just like Gibson was called the Black Babe Ruth. And Hall of Famer Monty Irvin said that if Leonard had been allowed to play in the big leagues, they'd be calling Gehrig the White Buck Leonard. So it's kind of the same thing as Josh Gibson. Numerous MLB players attested to his skill. Roy Campanella had great things to say about him. So again, I wanted to include people from different eras, and not to get off on it, but the more I research about the Negro Leagues, I had a guy named Ted Knorr on the podcast recently. The episode hasn't come out, but we talked about Rap Dixon. The more I get into the Negro Leagues, it's like, there's some great players and they're underrepresented in the Hall of Fame. I think they're underrepresented in a lot of these top 10, conversations. So I had to have someone on there, and it's not just, hey, trying to pick them. It's like, no, that guy was good. Career 346 hitter, 2-time batting champ. I mean, the seasons were smaller and shorter, so the batting averages were a little bit higher, but still, led the Negro Leagues in 1938 with a 420 batting average, led the league in triples. If you look at some of his stats in various times in his career, led the Negro Leagues in runs, doubles, home runs, triples, RBI, batting average, on base, slugging, OPS, etc. So, guy could hit for power, he could hit for average, he had speed, and who knows? Sky's the limit with what he could have done had he been able to play in the big leagues. But so I had to include him, especially because the connection. I love the connection with him and Josh, just like Lou and Babe. It's like I got a little bit of there's always an emotional soft spot for anything related to Ruth. or Gehrig.
Yeah.
And same thing
Yeah.
with Josh Gibson, just a little bit of the notoriety. So Buck and Josh are like the Ruth and Gehrig of the Negro League. So anyway, got to mention Buck Leonard.
Yeah. So one more time, your list is Gehrig, Pujols, Freeman, Fox, Hernandez, Keith Hernandez, Carew, Murray, Leonard, Beckley, Garvey. Anybody else you want to mention before we move on to Brian's list?
I got to mention Fred McGriff because I'm not just because I'm a Braves fan, but he is third all time in games played at first base. And I think, him and Eddie Murray could almost be interchangeable because they had very similar careers. They called Eddie Steady Eddie because he was, pretty much a 20 home run, 80 RBI, 280 average. He never really had a sexy season. It never really had that like monster season, and neither really did McGriff. I know he led the whole league in home runs a few times, but never really had gaudy numbers, but just was consistently very good, which is why I'm glad he's in the Hall of Fame. He was overlooked for the Hall of Fame. He had the misfortune of playing the steroid era, whereas 33 home runs a season every year for whatever, weren't sexy compared to McGwire and Sosa. But at the end of the day, guy played, 19 years, 493 home runs, almost 500, career 284 average. His career 162 game averages, 32 home runs, 100 RBIs, 284 average. So
yeah.
I think his offense, Murray, I had to put Murray on because he's an all-time leader in games played, over 3,000 hits, over 500 home runs, games played at first base. Sorry. But you got to honorable mention McGriff, and he could almost be interchangeable with Murray because even though he doesn't have the career numbers of Murray, I think you make the argument that he was better than Eddie Murray.
Yeah. He's so dominant in so many areas. And actually, all three of us, not to spoil this for anybody, but we all had Murray on our list. And Fred is very similar. There's guys who didn't make the list who are legitimately great. Fred had the thing in the early 90s where if you wanted to win the championship, you went and acquired him. So you got him from Toronto, you got him from the Padres. And he was a difference maker. And that's also goes to Brian saying, what were you thought of at the time? He's someone that we get to put us over the top.
Oh, yeah. I remember when the Braves got him in 93, it was like, oh, yeah. Because they already, back-to-back pennants, 91, 92, 93. Yeah. They eventually lost to the Phillies, in the playoffs. And it was like, it's hard to repeat. And they needed a little fire charge. When they got him, I remember, I was still a kid, but it was like, holy, that feeling when your team gets someone at the trade deadline and you're like, yes, it's on. We're going to do this, And then I don't know if you guys remember, but the day they got McGriff, there was a fire in the press box at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. And so it was just a perfect combination. And then it literally lit a fire and they went on a winning streak. And it was so, and then obviously they didn't win in 93 and 94, no World Series because of the strike, but then they won in 95. And obviously McGriff, huge part of that. So, yeah.
Yeah. He also, Eddie Murray had 9 years of getting MVP votes. When they got Fred, the Giants were dominating that year. Yeah. Barry Bonds was dominating, and they leaned him at the tape and took that West. And back then it was like, hey, either you won the division or you went home. And so both teams won over 100 games. And for sure, Fred was a difference maker there. Yeah.
Huge.
Anything you want to say at all, Brian? No? Okay. Well, you're gonna go next.
You guys saw more Fred McGriff than I did.
Yeah.
All right. Let's hear your list. Go ahead, Brian. Right. Give it to us.
So, number one, I'm going to go controversial right off the bat. I got Pujols number one, and my list is going to differ from you guys a little bit because I look at it kind of like the guy's a first baseman, and a guy like Pujols playing left field or third base or Cabrera. I just kind of look at that as extra, something else they can do. So I look at it a little different from you guys in that respect. So my list will be a little different. I love Lou Gehrig. You can attest to that, Pete, and everything. Albert Pujols hit 700 home runs, dude. 686 doubles, I think it was. And I do take league quality into account, which, I mean, not everyone likes to do that, but Pujols faced, way better pitching. And as far as his decline goes, he had ever seen the shift the way guys are seeing the shift during Pujols' decline phase. So he's basically hitting against defensive alignments that are totally unnatural and unprecedented in the 140-year history of baseball up to that point. Like, I give him a little slack for that. That's pretty difficult to adjust to, especially when you're dealing with plantar fasciitis. I think,
Yeah.
I don't know. It blows my mind that people don't have Pujols above Gehrig. I get Gehrig's a legend and everything, but man, Pujols, dude, so good. I got Gehrig number 2. Obviously, I mean, he's Lou Gehrig. I got Jimmy Fox 3rd. Fox, great all-around player, better all-around player than Gehrig, but as I said before, the bat supersedes all. Like, Gehrig is just too good of a hitter for Fox's all-around play, his catching ability, his athleticism, and all that. Just doesn't do it for me getting past Gehrig. I don't think it does it for anybody. I don't think anyone has Jimmy Fox at Lou Gehrig. 4, I got Cap Anson. I don't love Cap Anson. I do 75% of the articles I write are about Negro Leaguers. I'm not a big Cap Anson fan. Hundreds. I don't think he's as good a manager as people kind of make him out to be, but all that pressure on him makes it more difficult to hit. That's always been a thing. Lots of guys, Ty Cobb, Nap Lajoie, had trouble producing when they were managers. 5, I got McGuire. I'm not a big McGuire fan either. I'm not a big on PED guys getting in the Hall of Fame. I mean, you look at McGuire, the middle of McGuire's career, he was dealing with back issues. Like, he was always a slugger and everything, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't do near what he did without PEDs, I don't think. He was pretty wrecked. But he did what he did, still happened. I have him 5th. Dude, you tell me a guy is going to hit 58 bombs, 70 bombs, 65 bombs, transcend the sport. Like,
Crazy.
I'm taking that over the long career. That's the stuff that legends are made of. 6, I got Miguel Cabrera. I always loved Miguel since he came up. He has that triple crown. No one thought anyone was going to win the Triple Crown again. I mean, that was a hell of an accomplishment.
Yeah.
And that's what gets him by Greenberg to me. Greenberg had, 184 RBIs. He had 58 dingers the one year. He had like 63 freaking doubles. But the league quality in the Triple Crown for Cabrera puts him ahead of there for me. Then I got Eddie Murray, 8th. Just the longevity, the durability, all-around play. Got Johnny Mize, 9th. Mize, he kind of looks like a big lumbering guy. I don't know how good he was on balls off the bat, but he was great around the bag. Great picking it. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And he's similar to Murray in that respect, but again, league quality, longevity, that gets Murray up there. And 10th, I kind of surprised myself and went with Willie McCovey because of his peak in the late 60s there. He doesn't get a lot of talk about it because the numbers aren't gaudy because it was, the height of the second dead ball era. But, yeah, I hadn't looked at McCovey in a long time. He's a hell of a lot better than I remember thinking he was. So that's my list.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. Look at that great picture of Willie McCovey just spinning himself around, man. He hit the shit out of the ball.
That is great. He's a big guy. If you look at pictures of the All-Star games and stuff, he's like, I think he was really tall, like 6'6" or something. Head and shoulders above everybody.
Yeah. Talk about Jimmy Fox or Johnny Mize. Oh, you talked about Johnny Mize for a really good little bit. I wanted you to talk about, you talked about Anson. Oh, Greenberg. Right. So he loses time to war.
Yeah.
And what do you do with that? Like, how do you
stretch?
Yeah. How do you deal with that? Like, Mize does it also too. He loses time to World War II.
Dude, look how big Hank Greenberg is sometime, man.
Yeah. Let's see if I can find a picture of him. Any questions, Russ, for Brian, while I'm looking for a picture of Hank Greenberg?
I was just going to chime in on Greenberg and Jimmy Fox. I feel like those are sort of when you think of the greatest sluggers of all time, it's always like Bonds, Aaron, Ruth, Mantle. It's like
I project them.
People sleep on Greenberg and Fox. When Fox
2 years
retired
before the war, 2 years after the war, average them out and just make that the average.
We got a mystery. We got a mystery Brian here. I think Brian's locked out. Maybe I'm going to kick him.
Yeah, I think he's having some. Did we lose? Yeah, I think he was having some issues with streaming.
Yeah, we'll have him come back in a second. Come back in, Brian. We miss you. Yeah, you were talking about the size of Greenberg, and I'm trying to find a picture that represents that. I had one, but he is huge. I have a great picture of not him, but it's like a what does it matter? Who cares about that? Yeah, so he's huge and swung a gigantic bat and missed time due to the war, and so there's some of that. And he's not put in that category, but he certainly belongs there. That's the thing about these greatest lists is, I don't have Greenberg on there, but I'm like, man, I got to get Greenberg in there, but at what expense? Like, who am I going to leave out? And
Yeah.
it's all just so close. I just picked my guys, and it just happened we had a good amount of overlap, but also we didn't have a lot of overlap. So we did get guys in that are. Here's the way I look at this: kind of like the Derek Jeter, if you're a GM thinking you got his last 9 years to be stoked. If you signed Hank Greenberg, like you're gonna be like, I love our guy, I love him, he's the best.
Yeah.
You
He's
keep
incredible.
whoever you want.
The bummer with Hank Greenberg is that he was incredible, but he only played 13 years.
Right.
And there's 3 full seasons, in his prime where he's serving in World War II, and that's certainly admirable, and that's the whole story. But I'm looking at his stats. He comes back in 1946, leads the AL in home runs, leads all Major League Baseball in home runs. So it's just like Ted Williams. What could he have done if he played 3 more seasons? So I didn't have him on my list because him and Fox and Gehrig all kind of played in the same era. I think Fox has better career stats, and it's not Hank's fault because it's admirable he served in World War II. But I mean, he's certainly a fine addition to the list. Look at Jimmy Fox; the dude was a unit. Yeah. I was saying earlier when Fox retired, he was second to Babe Ruth all time in home runs. Brian's back.
Brian back.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe he's not back.
He's having buffering computer issues.
Yeah. Maybe turn your camera off,
Jeez.
Brian. Can you get that thing to work? All right. I guess I'll work on my list here since we're trying to move this thing along. So I've got Gehrig first, Pujols second, Jimmy Fox third. I got Willie McCovey fourth, and then I have
Maybe I'll use a
Freddie
different
Freeman.
camera.
Let me put my Freddie Freeman image up here. Look at Freddie, and it's not because I'm a Dodger fan or I just think he is so great and he's so far above as a hitter than everybody else. I'll come back to Fred. Let me finish my list. Then I have Todd Helton. Then I have McGuire, Bagwell, Eddie Murray, and Johnny Mize. So going back to Freddie is, he's the best active hitter right now. Once Cabrera and Pujols, retired, it's Fred. And he, like you said, he has a shot at the most doubles ever. And if he misses, and he has 700 doubles, he approached, 60 doubles 2 seasons ago. That's amazing.
Insane.
He has a long shot, but a real shot, depending on how he ages, at the most extra base hits for first base, and also maybe top 10 for extra base. I mean, that's surprising. Will he hit 500 homers? Yeah, probably not. But will he hit more than 400? Probably. And so
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and that could be, but the things he has done is he's also, like you said, he's going to approach, if not get to 3,000 hits. And in this age, with how rare hits are, I just think that's remarkable. And so he's just one of those guys that is just proving himself to be more and more timeless. And so I've got him 5. Let me put this little graphic up here so you guys can see that. Those are our basic lists right there.
Yeah.
Pujols. Obviously, we had agreed on that. He's 1 or 2 on all of our lists.
Sure.
Let's see if I got Brian back here.
Because the thing with the era comparing, there's no doubt that in today's era, well, I mean, you can make arguments about which era is harder, but with computers and and with the shift, Brian brought up a good point about the shift. I mean, the shift was a killer for players, and Pujols and Cabrera, the fact they were able to play so well when people are pulling the shift on them is impressive,
Yeah. One of the guys that I had to get in there, we all kind of put our guys in there, and I just could not ignore Todd Helton. First off, we know his defense is great. He throws the hell out of the ball and all that stuff, but he just belongs. I was looking at his numbers. So this is all first base numbers of all time. So in terms of total bases, he is, where's he at? He's 5th all time, 4,243. And yeah, he played at Coors, but he also hit well in the home. His home road splits aren't that bad considering where he was. His career OPS is 956, which, by the way, at first base, right? That's fifth all time for all the guys who played more than 1,700 games. That's an amazing number. Like, it's shocking when you hear that. Like, wait, he did what? How many? And so just to be that out, by the way, that's out of the 1,400 games or more is what that is. So guys like Lyle Overbay are on the list and Adam LaRoche are on the list, those kind of guys. And then way up at the top, the total bases is Todd Helton, Albert Pujols, Jimmy Fox, Eddie Murray, Lou Gehrig. It's a pretty impressive pile. He also has 588 doubles. That's ridiculous. And so I just couldn't look at those numbers, and I'm not going to penalize him for where he played, just like we don't penalize Mel Ott for where he played for the most part. No, that's where my guys are.
I'm with you, Pete. That's a whole separate conversation for another time. The whole Coors factor, I think, is overblown a little bit. Yeah, the air's a little thinner. Yeah, it's high in elevation, but one of the things they'll point out is the players that play up in Coors and then go down to lower elevation, that impacts your body. And as you said, his road splits were still pretty good. I wanted to add in there, Pete, I like you had him on the list because Todd is fifth all time in games played at first base. One of 6 Hall of Famers on the top 10 all-time games played at first base list. So you kind of can't have him. I mean, you can't not have him.
Yeah. I'm glad we got him in there. I wish one of us would have got Sisler in there because he deserves to be there too. Yeah. Let's see if Brian's playing along with us. Are you able to hear us and talk to us, Brian?
I'm here.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, give it a shot. So, any thoughts on the guys that didn't make it, Brian?
The only guy that I really noted that is just a personal favorite of mine is Joe Start. He began his career in 1859 with a youth team in Brooklyn when he was 17. The best clubs in New York had youth squads. They would pick the best players off of and bring them up to the big club. He joined the best team at the time, which was Atlantic. They were located in Brooklyn too. Joined them in 1862, won 4 titles with them. Then he entered the National Association, played there, went into the National League, managed Providence. He won the first ever interleague World Series between the American Association and the National League when he was managing them. His last season was age 43 in 1886 for the Washington Senators. That year put his career average below 300, which probably hurt him when they were looking back at old timers in the old baseball encyclopedias. But the fun fact, in 1886, Washington signed Connie Mack. So this guy started his career in 1859 and was teammates with Connie Mack. But I think through how influential he was. Yeah. I'm freezing up on you again.
Yeah, that's all right. We can hear you okay. We can't see you so good, but that's all right.
Sorry about my computer.
No, it's all right. I wanted to throw in, this is so silly. We didn't even talk about Rafael Palmeiro or Jeff Bagwell. And there's a little bit of PED stuff with those guys, but goodness gracious, if you signed either of those dudes, you would be over the moon with having two very. And I know Palmeiro gets a lot of grief for winning the Gold Glove when he was DHing that year, but he didn't vote for that. He just played first base, and he played a lot of first base. So that's sort of unfair to hold that against him. The PED thing's different, but also that's the era he played in. And you guys know how I look at PEDs is what's performance enhancing. So if you can put a dead person's body part in your body, or stem cells, or you can remove a rib, or all these things, you can laser your eyes. If you can do all those things, is our PEDs that bad? And then we only get mad at McGuire, Bonds, Palmeiro, a couple of guys, and everybody else gets a pass, and we got to do better than that. So,
yeah. But
he didn't make the cut, and partly because he was a PED guy. But 3,000 hits, 500 home runs, it's hard to deny. It's an incredible pile of success. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned Palmeiro and Bagwell.
600.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Right.
He led the league in assists 6 times and putouts 3 times at first base.
Wow,
great defense. Yeah. So yeah, certainly one of the best. all the PED stuff aside. I mean, we already talked about McGuire. The cat's out of the bag. We can talk about the numbers and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to put this graphic up too here because this sort of shows us how these guys rank out. Just with our silly little. So if you get 10 points for first place, and then 1 point for 10th place, this is how these guys ranked in our charts. And it's no surprise that Gehrig is at the top. But Pujols, to me, was little bit of a surprise. He's got that longevity thing, though, fellas. And even though he DH'd a lot, he played a lot of first base. He just played a long time. Any other thoughts on this? How this part of the ranking washed out for you guys?
I like that it puts Gehrig on top because I love Lou Gehrig.
Yeah, look at this handsome devil. Look at that. We want that guy to win.
Yeah.
Look at how big this bat is, too, by the way.
Massive bat. Yeah, he was a unit. You look at pictures of him, massive. Remember, he was going to play Tarzan. There's a whole separate story. They had some photos. He was going to play Tarzan, the movies. They ended up not doing it. He's a big dude.
Yeah, he's a big dude. The all-time leader in first base home runs. There's only 2 guys that hit 500 home runs or more at first base. Just at first base. McGuire was 570. The next closest guy is Pujols at 501. There's something to be said for McGuire pacing everybody. And by the way, he only plays in how many games did he play there? He plays 1,765 games. Pujols plays 2,028 at first, and he whooped him by 69 home runs.
Jeez,
that's shocking.
McGuire, I think he still has the record for most. Home runs per at bat? I think McGuire still holds that record. It's just like all that dude did was hit home runs.
Yeah.
It was like
even when he was in the minors, if he touched the ball, big arc, and you just look that way. Even if you're in the bleachers, you just look behind you to see where it landed because he could just touch him. It was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. He made Oakland seem small.
Yeah, and we get into the PED conversation, and I've talked about this in the pod before. It's like I think the anger is over, and it's like now these guys are getting older and whatever. It's like, hey, they were a fun part of our childhood. It was really fun watching Mark McGuire hit home runs, So
right.
And I can take the memories away.
I don't know if Brian is connected good enough to chat about McGuire at all. Do you got any thoughts on McGuire, Brian?
Yes, it was.
Nope. That's all right. We'll just rock the house.
Yeah.
Any comments from me at all, Russell? On this
I don't know when I cut out. If you heard me talk about him on my list, but I grew up during it too.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Man, it sucks when the Wi-Fi is so choppy.
Yeah.
Because I want to hear from him, and the lag is so long. All right, I'm gonna boot him out of the studio again. See if that helps.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, any questions for me? Any thoughts on the rankings before we go here? Does anybody seem out of place? Did we get this as right as we needed to get it?
I think we did a pretty good job. There's the issue of Cap Anson, his off the field stuff. Certainly, like nobody's going to defend that.
Right.
But looking at this list, I think we did pretty well. Greenberg put up good numbers in the years he played. He didn't have a very long career, but that's not necessarily his fault. I'd like to stump. I want to mention this because I know we mentioned it in the comments, just to stump for Lou Gehrig a little bit. I know, Pete, you told me you just had a friend recently pass from ALS, and my
Phil Green.
Yeah, you said 3 friends.
Phil Green.
Phil Green.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, I had my friend Jerry Travers just passed away a few weeks ago too. So while ALS is on our mind, without ALS, Gehrig easily gets over 2,000 runs and RBI and 500 home runs. And I mentioned this in the chat. Only 3 players in MLB history have hit those milestones of 2,000 plus runs, RBIs, and 500 more home runs. That's Aaron, Ruth, and A-Rod. And only Aaron and Ruth have over a career 300 average. And Lou was career 341, I believe. So without ALS, he still hit 29 home runs actively fighting ALS his second to last season. So the dude was just a unit. Without ALS, as Brian pointed out in the chat, he's probably the all-time leader in RBIs and runs without ALS. And he's certainly up there with 500 plus home runs, 2,000 runs in RBI with 300 average with Aaron Ruth. Only would have been better,
Yeah. His rates too. When you see him high up on these lists, and you're like, wait, you only have this many at like 9,000 at bats. And he gets 10,000 at bats.
Yeah.
And even though he played a lot, he just is. Anytime you see him elevated, if you break his pile into a rate, you're like, oh my God. All he did was just pulverize the ball. Look, era and all, but he was way above his peers. He was just a devastating force, and from all accounts could pitch and everything else too. So
Yeah.
just a hell of a ball player.
Yeah, and you look at his RBI totals, how insane they were. 147, 173, 185. And this is batting behind Babe Ruth,
Yeah.
and it's like nobody's on base. So it's insane. Lou Gehrig was even with ALS, shortening his career, his career numbers are still super impressive. I think he's still best all time. And yeah, there's a bit of an emotional impact, but even putting that aside, I think his numbers are there for him to be the best of all time.
If we take and we give Freddie the peachiest of reasonable declines, and he starts to pass Lou in a number of things, can he become the greatest first baseman of all time, or is that still going to belong to Lou at the end?
Well, I think he can be. I mean, I had him at number 2, number 3. I had him really high on my list. And when all's said and done, assuming he stays healthy, he's going to be the all-time leader in games played at first base. He may end up as the all-time career doubles leader, over 3,000 hits. It's hard to predict right now, but assuming if we give him a peachy, as you said, remaining a career, he's still on fire. He only has 2 years left in his Dodgers contract. I mean, I don't see he's not decline. He's not in decline. He's struggled a bit this season. The past few months, he's slumped because he's injured, but he's still having a great season. And every reason to believe the next 2 seasons will be pretty good. And he'll probably sign a free agent deal. If not re-up with the Dodgers, he'll sign a 1 or 2 year deal somewhere. A lot of Braves fans hope he comes back. It would be cool to see him come back at 3,000 hits in a Braves uniform, but we need to rebuild and we got to focus on the future. That's another conversation. I think that when all is said and done, both in terms of his career counting stats, most games on the bag, and who knows what's left in terms of the October Magic. If he has a couple more October Magic, tricks up his sleeve, I think we're going to be looking at him as the all-timer.
Yeah. And there's something to be said for the guys that can dump the barrel of the bat on an outside pitch and just dink it over or line it into the gap. I mean, that's Harold Baines. These guys can some guys can just do that for a long time. Tony Gwynn, way past Tony Gwynn's, prime. You're just not going to get the ball by him, and he's going to be able to direct the ball. And Freddie seems to have that thing where that's just, maybe he won't hit as many home runs, or maybe he won't hit as many doubles. But if he hit a crap load of double, if he hit another 200 doubles, it wouldn't surprise me.
No, not at all. And the thing is, his swing has just only gotten better. And he, I always compared him sort of to your Yastrzemski or Musial in that he has some power, but he's never going to lead the league in home runs. He's never going to be a 40, 50 home run a year guy, but he's like a 25, 30. He's gotten in the 30s and stuff. And he's got power when he needs to, but he's also got that ability. He's not like Gwynn in that he's hitting for average winning batting titles. He's not, McGuire, but he's just a good all around the board hitter who can be dangerous hitting for doubles, singles, home runs, and he'll do all of those very well. It doesn't necessarily stand out in any one of those categories. He's very evenly balanced as a hitter.
Right. I thought I'd look at Jaws and see what Jay Jeffy has for his rankings. He's got Gehrig, Pujols, Fox. This is just the way I'm looking. Let me do the Jaws ranking part of it.
Let's get into Jaws. I love Jay's analysis.
So pretty similar. Lou Gehrig, Pujols, Fox, Cap Anson, Roger Connor, Jeff Bagwell, Dan Brothers, Frank Thomas, Johnny Mize, Jim Thome, Miguel Cabrera. By the way, we should mention Jim Thome. And Rafael Palmeiro, Joey Votto, McCovey, Goldschmidt. That's your top 15. Just below that are Helton and Murray, and then everybody below that is below his average line that he sets. So that's a pretty healthy thing. We didn't talk about Roger Connor. What are your thoughts on Roger?
I don't know a lot about Roger Connor. He played. He's one of the older players.
Right. Yeah. And so is Dan Brothers.
Yeah, I know Brothers because he had a cool mustache. Roger Connor played 1880 to 1897. Let's pull up his stats real quick. He had career 84.3 WAR, 316 batting average. If you were getting in, I know Jay's more into straight analytics. He's not coming from the perspective of looking at best of the era, kind of like I did. I had Jake Beckley kind of as the best of that era, just in terms of the numbers, counting numbers. But maybe there's a separate conversation in that late 19th century. Who was the best first baseman? If I'm applying my Eddie Murray most games played standard, then it's Jake Beckley. If it's life in the years, not years in the life, then maybe it is Roger Connor. I'm just looking right now. He led the league in hits various times, triples, RBI, batting average, on base percentage, slugging. So kind of a Freddie-esque, all around dangerous threat. Good player.
Yeah. So here's where I have a little bit of I love Jay's work, so let me just say that up front.
Yeah.
But he's got Frank Thomas at 8. Frank Thomas doesn't play 1,000 games at the position, and this is where I can't get over that barrier. Okay, set aside Posey and Mauer for a second. Let's just talk Frank. 900 at first because he couldn't stay at first. He couldn't physically stay there, and he didn't play defense good enough to stay there. That shouldn't. He's a DH, is what he is. If he's anything. Yeah.
Without pulling up his stats, just off the top of my head, anecdotally, I'm like, I vividly remember Frank DHing for a lot of his career.
Yeah.
So again, if we were looking at pure offensive stats, I mean, obviously Frank Thomas is incredible.
Yeah,
and again, sort of like McGriff was sort of overlooked because he was in the height of the steroid era. And so his numbers, guy put up 35 home runs a year, big deal. Like, well, it is a big deal,
It's a big deal, yeah. When he even said he's like 5 home runs a month. 5 home runs a month. And this is the thing, like when you zoom in on a career, I posted about this the other day about if you had a 1-for-4 game with 1 run, that's it. How many of those games have you got? It turns out if you make a big pile of those, you got a whole bunch of motherfuckers. Sure, Larry Bowa's in that list, but try to beat Larry Bowa because he didn't play in the big leagues for as long as he did play in shortstop because he didn't help his team win. He was a motherfucker, and you had to beat him, and he just was going to give no quarter. The better version of him is Pete Rose. It's every day I'm going to do something, 2 somethings to help us win. And that's where that thing where 971 games at first for Frank is not good enough for me because look what Murray did. He did it longer. He and the other thing is when you play that long, you absorb your entire decline. You don't get to move over to an easier spot. And so, granted, first base is a place where you can decline in place, but you're not using that person's decline against a person who didn't have one. And what does that look like in the harshest terms? Look at I don't know. There's a lot of players, but look at Thurman Munson's age 33 season. Wasn't good, and that's that attendance thing. So that hurts Thurman Munson. That's why he's not in the Hall of Fame because he dies right at 32 in the middle of a season. If he plays 2 more seasons, is he automatically in? Probably. I mean, how much more work did he have to do? So when we zoom in and we see the day-to-day contributions, and we realize that Garvey's out and not going to get in anytime soon. What's the difference between Garvey and whoever it's going to be? Tony Oliva. What's the difference there? And there's just not much.
There's not much, yeah. Well, it's funny. We didn't get it. I put Garvey on my list, hoping for a little controversy, because Garvey is, we just talking about right now, one of these players, it's one of these generational divides that the youngins, as I say, that are into the analytics, laugh when you mention Steve Garvey. And it's like, no, look at his stats. He led the league in hits numerous times. He was consistently getting over 200 hits. He wasn't a power guy, but he could hit for contact and for average, and he was a perennial all-star. The guy was a winner, like just won MVPs, won all-star MVPs. And at the time of his career, at his peak, it was this guy clearly a Hall of Famer. And then he kind of never hits those plateaus, doesn't get 3,000 hits. And then some of the off the field stuff comes out afterwards, which I think sort of derailed it. That and the mentality of you got to hit the milestones or else you're out kind of killed his Hall of Fame case. I've talked about it on my pod that I think if he retired now with what he did in terms of the stats and the hardware, where we aren't as hung up on 3,000 hits, he probably would have got in. Although his WAR is not that high. That's a whole separate conversation we can get into. I don't like it when people retroactively criticize players for not having a high WAR when they had high batting averages, because every player from that era, you read their autobiographies, Dave Parker talks about it all the time in his autobiography. He was like, every day, the one stat everyone looked at to make sure they knew where they were was batting average. And guess who else looked at your batting average every day? Your coaches, your managers. And guess what? It's hard to be the star. There's a few stars. Most of the guys on the team any given season are fighting for the jobs. So 225 versus 250 is the difference between you staying in the big leagues for the next 8 seasons or you playing 3 months and going back to sell cars in Wichita and telling everybody how you had that one cup of coffee, with the Kansas City Royals and it's done. So batting average, was so important to these guys. Sorry, I'm not going on a soapbox here, but I don't like it when people apply WAR to players that didn't have, they didn't know what WAR was. I've seen interviews with current players who are like, I'm tracking my WAR. I'm like, they didn't even know what the fuck WAR was, let alone track it, but they definitely track their batting average. So
for sure.
I'm old school, about, and then I like Garvey. Yeah.
Garvey too has 9 years where he picks up MVP votes in the season. That is such a good predictor for Hall of Fame status. And he doesn't. 9 is, for anybody watching, 9 is a lot. It's like unheard of that he's not in the Hall of Fame. It's very rare. And then the other thing is in the playoffs, 2 different MVPs in the NLCS. And in the 81, most people don't remember this. In 81, when the Dodgers won the World Series, they had a very balanced attack. And so the reporter came up, and because it was 3 people won the MVP that year. And it was, I believe it was Yeager, Baker, and Say, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but for sure Yeager and Baker, or Yeager and Say. But the reporter came because it's confusing. 3 people. Wait, it's in there. Okay, so he goes up to Garvey and he's like, "Hey, you won the MVP." And he's like, "I did? Oh, that makes sense." Because it's like, yeah. But so in the series when he didn't win MVP, his batting average was 359. He slugged 547. He had a pretty goddamn good 3 home runs in that World Series.
He was awesome in the playoffs. And I'm looking at he had a 2-time NLCS MVP, 2-time All-Star MVP. So when the best of the best get together, and the All-Star game mattered more back then. I mean, this is the era Pete Rose running over Ray Fosse. I mean, like these motherfuckers run to win,
Yes.
2-time MVP, you put the best of the best together. Look at Dave Parker's Hall of Fame induction. Look at the videos. Like it's on his freaking plaque, the fact that he had that cannon throw in the All-Star game. Like that stuff matters. I was just at the All-Star game a few weeks ago, first time I've ever been. And I was having this conversation with my daughter. I was like, it's just cool when you put the best of the best together and see which cream rises to the top. It's pretty incredible. And the fact that Garvey was the All-Star MVP twice is pretty incredible. I'm just looking too. They had how many seasons? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons over 200 hits. Guys are leading the league with less than 200 hits now. Like it's not 200 hits isn't a milestone. I feel like that's really valued as much anymore.
Right.
I mean,
and he also was an Iron Man. He broke the national. I think he's still. There's no way anybody else has beaten this. He's the National League Iron Man. Nobody's played more games in a row. So you were going to get that hit every single game. And if it wasn't for some labor disputes, he would have easily had 2,600, maybe 2,700 hits, depending.
Yeah,
that's a lot of hits.
I've talked about this on my pod. He finished with 25.99. There's something subjective about if he had that one more 26, just subjectively is like, okay, when did you start to get 26, 27? You're like, okay, 25.99 just feels like halfway there. Something mentally about that is a barrier. But you're right. With the work stoppages, he would have easily had it. He's
so close. If he hadn't have been so loose with his morals.
Well, that's the thing.
Right? That really counted against him. And he's not the only guy to have his off the field stuff hurt his case.
And it wasn't just that. I don't want to get off on soapbox and morality, but he portrayed himself. His nickname was Mr. Clean. So he portrayed himself throughout his career as the family man, as I'm Mr. Clean. All the other guys are doing all this bad stuff, and I'm fine. And then, as it turns out, he's just like all the other guys, and he's sleeping with the groupies and doing this and doing that. And again, we're not here to judge. Whereas I read again Dave Parker's autobiography. He doesn't shy away from the things he did. And me talking, hey, they went out to the club, they drank, they did some drugs, there were girls, like that's part of it. And he's not trying to play the morality police. So I think people just tend to not like hypocrites. And I think when all that came out, it's like not just that. It wasn't like, we knew Darryl Strawberry partied. Like, yeah, we kind of knew that. Like back, it's not a secret, So that's not going to impact Darryl Strawberry or Dwight Gooden's Hall of Fame case. But it's like when Steve Garvey gets on his pedestal, and it's like, oh yeah, you're a hypocrite. So that hurt him, I think, more than anything else.
Be sure everybody to watch Russ's show, the K4 podcast. He talks about these, and you hear him how good he is at this. That's exactly what he does on his show, and it's on YouTube. It's on it's on Apple. It's all those places. You can find it wherever you find it. You guys definitely check that out. I want to wrap it up. We got our. Let me put up one more time our little rankings. Here we go. Garrett, Pujols, Fox, Freeman, McGuire, Murray, McCovey, Anson, Hernandez, Cabrera, Carew, Helton, Tag at 10th place. That's a pretty good list. If you drafted, let's say there's 15 names there. If you drafted 16th, you'd be stuck with Bagwell, Palmiero.
Stuck.
It's so crazy, right? I mean, that's first base is loaded. And this is the funny thing, because if you did this for third base or shortstop or second base, it wouldn't be as loaded like this, where you have these titanic things.
What makes it fun and difficult is first base and outfield historically are where you put your sluggers, and now DH. So, yeah, when you're looking at shortstop or second base, you almost instinctively are looking almost exclusively at defense. And but first base is, like I said, the position where that big guy. When I saw Nick Kurtz in spring training, and I said, "Who the hell is that guy? He's huge. He must be a first baseman." It's like, yeah, he's a first baseman. The big guy that can crush home runs and can put his mitts out and catch the ball. Put that guy at first base. You want your masher at first base.
I don't want to go on too long, but I definitely want to bring this up. Someone like Nick Kurtz comes up. He's huge. And when he touches the ball, it zooms, right? That's Mark McGuire.
Yeah.
Right. And so we can say, oh, well, look how skinny the kid is, and he's tall. He's big, right? But that's how Mark was. And they're about the same height. If Nick Kurtz was to eat well, have professionals guide him, and he lifted, guess what he's going to do to balls when he's 35?
Destroy them.
Yeah, and he's going to be jacked. He's going to have huge traps, and he's just going to lever the ball out of the yard so easily. So when people say, look how big McGuire got, yes, of course.
Yeah,
The
thing is, you can get pretty big with just creatine and protein and diet and lifting. You don't have to go the extra mile. And I think I mentioned you on Twitter. I was like, Pete, I saw this guy. He's freaking huge. He's, what is he, 20, 21? I'm like, he still looks like a kid. And I'm like, he's still got like baby fat, not literally, but like, the saying, it's like, this guy can fill out. I'm like, you get him on a diet, you get him in the weight room, this guy will get huge easily. And he's already crushing home runs. I'm like, he's going to start hitting them out of the stadium. I'm a big Kirk fan.
It really is. The sky is the limit for him.
Yeah.
And, look, he's got a long way to go. We've seen guys show up and blow up. So, let's hope for the best. But you're right. And again, when you get trained by these guys at the major league level, you're building a specific kind of thing. When McGuire came up, it was still the era of, hey, you don't lift weights. That slows you down, the bulks up. And he said, no, that's all right. I'm just going to lift these weights. And so, sure, he did some extra stuff, but he was always going to be big and strong. He was always going to – he hit 49 home runs as a rookie in Oakland, everybody.
Yeah, and he had that similar frame. He was tall. He was muscular, but in a natural way. Anyway, I don't get off on it. The steroid era was fun. The numbers were gaudy, but it would have been cool to see what they did without the roids. They still would have had great numbers. It would have been more realistic, and they could be in the Hall of Fame, because it's just weird that like so many of our childhood heroes are just not in the Hall of Fame. McGuire, Canseco, Bonds. It's weird.
I can't tell you the dates, but there is a significant stretch of time when McGuire was battling his back, his plantar fasciitis. He wasn't healthy, but he was crushing the ball. This is right around the time when he signed his free agent contract with the A's. And there were several spans of 162. They walked. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
But that time he was bombing the ball. And I think the number was ridiculous, like 72 homers over 162. It just wasn't from April 1st to September 30th. And so, and look, did he do steroids in 92, 93? Maybe, but maybe not. I don't know. We don't know. Yeah. But he for sure was crushing the ball. So his problem was staying on the field, and maybe that's where the steroids came from.
Well, that's the thing too. The people, you can get strong. The thing with steroids, I don't get off on it, but steroids help you recover. So like you and I go to the gym, we crush it. Like, all right, great. Take creatine, protein. If you take the roids, in theory, you heal because if you remember gym class, I say, okay, Pete, we did bench today. Tomorrow, don't do upper body because your body needs a day to recover. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, upper body. If you do roids, you can do it every day because your body heals faster. And not only are you healing faster and getting stronger through the workouts, but the wear and tear of the season helps you recover, because that's the thing. You hit the wall in August or September. You're like, I've been playing every day. my body's just tired, especially as you get older. Having the roids kind of helps you get through all that.
Yeah. The other side of that is, if we believe the rumors, is you roll up your triceps tendon like Bonds did because you put too much steak on the horse and it just snaps, because the deleterious effect, we don't ever talk about that and the ways. Look, would Canseco have been as crazy as he was in the late 80s if he hadn't taken steroids? Maybe not, but it's a good case for probably not.
Well, it's funny you say that, and I know we're pressed for time, but Canseco still would have been a good player. He still would have had good numbers. And the perfect example, if you're looking at the lab, the steroid lab, the Canseco steroid lab, is look at his twin brother, Ozzy. He looks the same. He's built the same. I remember watching him. I saw him in a minor league game for the Huntsville Stars back in the 80s, AAA team. Look at his stats. He was not good because he couldn't hit the ball. No offense. Right. He's better than I am, but Jose Canseco, you still have to be able to hit. McGuire, Canseco, Bonds, all these guys.
It's the ultimate example. Yeah,
you still have to be able to hit the ball. And all it does is put a little umph in your giddy up. And not even that. Sometimes it almost doesn't even help you with the swing so much as just recovering so that you're healthy, so that your back isn't killing you when you get up to the plate and you're not able to swing well, Just little things like that.
Well, and not all big guys take. Sometimes it's those little guys, and you like that guy, Guillermo Mota. Like, wait, you took steroids? But
it's just a recovery thing sometimes. It's like, hey, Advil isn't cutting it. I need a little something so that I'm, So,
All right, that's awesome. Thank you, Brian. Next time we'll get you on the Wi-Fi side. It's terrible that you couldn't be here, but we had a good time. Anyhow, thank you very much, Russ, for doing this with me. I'm going to wrap this up. You guys, make sure you go check out the Case for podcast on YouTube or Apple or wherever you watch these things, and you'll hear all of the cases for the Hall of Fame. I'll see y'all tomorrow.